You know that feeling, right? You know exactly what you should be doing. Hitting the gym, eating healthy, finally tackling that huge project. But somehow, we just get in our own way. We know where we want to go, but we keep taking all these detours. Well, in this explainer, we're going to dive into what some leading experts have to say about why we do this, and, more importantly, how we can finally stop.
I mean, this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? We have all the information, we've got a game plan. So what is the real barrier standing between our intentions and our actions? We're going to dig into some really powerful and honestly kind of surprising answers from experts like Nir Eyal and Andrew Huberman.
Okay, get ready for a bit of a bombshell. According to habit expert Nir Eyal, after 5 years of deep research, he found that the real source of our distraction, it's not our phones, it's not our email, it's not even our chatty coworkers. The huge majority of it, a full 90%,
it comes from within us. It's basically an emotion regulation problem. And this, right here, is the absolute key. The battle for our focus isn't won or lost out there in the world, it's won or lost inside our own minds. So let's break down a framework that's going to help you win that internal battle.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to redefine what distraction even is. Then we'll walk through a 4-step model to become what Eyal calls indistractable. And to wrap up, we'll touch on a pretty controversial but really important perspective on ADHD. All right, first things first. We have got to get our definition straight, because understanding what distraction truly is and what it is not is the absolute first step to getting a handle on it. Think about it like this: traction and distraction. They're spelled almost the same, and they both end in action. They are actions you take. Traction is anything that pulls you toward what you want. Distraction is anything that pulls you away. See how that reframes the whole thing? Distraction isn't something that just happens to you, it's an action you take, even if it's an unconscious one.
And this quote right here, this explains why we take those actions. Eyal argues that pretty much all human behavior is driven by one thing, a desire to escape discomfort. We check our phones, not because of the notification, but to escape feeling bored. We grab a snack, not because we're truly hungry, but to escape feeling stressed. At its core, distraction is just our brain's clumsy attempt to deal with internal pain. So that brings us right to step 1, which is without a doubt the most crucial piece of this whole puzzle. Mastering those uncomfortable feelings, those internal triggers that make us want to get distracted in the first place. If you don't nail this step, everything else is just so much harder. And here they are, the usual suspects. When you feel that urge to procrastinate, to check your phone, Eyal says just pause for a second and ask yourself, what am I actually feeling right now? Just putting a name to it, boredom, anxiety, whatever it is the first step to getting power over it. You know, these feelings aren't bad. They're just signals. High performers learn to use them as rocket fuel, while the rest of us just look for an escape.
So what do you do in that moment? Here's a super powerful and practical technique. It's called the 10-minute rule. And it's not about denying yourself, it's about taking back control. You just tell yourself, sure, I can go check Instagram, but not right now. I'll do it in 10 minutes. This simple little act of delaying it builds up that impulse control muscle over time, and it proves to your brain that you are the one in charge, not the feeling. Okay, so once you've got some tools for your internal world, the next step is to get proactive and actually design your external world for success. This is all about deciding ahead of time how you're going to spend your time and attention so you don't just get knocked off course by whatever comes up. Now, the key here is not to start with a crazy to-do list. Nope, it's about starting with your values. Eyal defines values as the attributes of the person you want to be. Do you want to be a patient parent, a dedicated partner, a focused colleague? The whole goal is to translate those values into actual blocks of time on your calendar. It's a technique called time boxing. Eyal suggests breaking your calendar down into these 3 domains. And you always start with yourself. Because if you don't schedule time for your health, for your relationships, for that deep, focused work, well, the urgent stuff, the reactive stuff, it's always going to win. This way, you stop being the person who just gets whatever scraps of time are left at the end of the day.
So we've got tools for our inner world and a plan for our time. Now we can finally get to the more tactical stuff, setting up our environment for success and building a final firewall against distraction.
So yeah, most of our distractions start on the inside, but that doesn't mean we can just ignore all the pings and dings and notifications from the outside world. The solution isn't just to turn everything off. It's about asking a simple question for every trigger. Is this serving me or am I serving it?
And neuroscientist Andrew Huberman explains why this is so tough. The problem with our phones is that they cram an infinite world of experiences, sights, sounds, social drama, into one little glowing rectangle. Your brain is still trying to process what you saw on Instagram 10 minutes ago, which makes it basically impossible to focus on what you're doing right now. The solution? Create what he calls boring breaks, and limit all that sensory input before you need to focus.
And this is your last line of defense, a pre-commitment pact. It's basically a decision you make now to stop your future self from getting distracted. All it does is add a tiny bit of friction. Like Eyal's outlet timer for his router, he could still turn it back on, but it forces a pause. It breaks that cycle of just mindlessly giving in.
Now, all this talk about internal focus brings us to a really important and often misunderstood topic. Nir Eyal has a pretty critical take on the explosion of ADHD diagnoses, and he's really urging us to take a more careful look.
Eyal points to this data as a massive red flag. A tenfold difference between the United States and Europe, that's huge. It strongly suggests that there might be some cultural factors or even financial incentives that are leading to overdiagnosis, not just a simple difference in brain chemistry.
And this right here is his core message on the topic. He's very clear. ADHD is a real condition, and for some people, medication is an absolute game changer. But he argues it should not be the first or the only solution. He's a huge advocate for trying behavioral skills, like the ones we've just talked about, as the first line of defense.
And his argument goes even deeper. He's worried that by jumping to medication too quickly, we're creating this sense of powerlessness. We risk teaching people, especially kids, that they're somehow broken and the only fix has to come from the outside, instead of empowering them with the skills to manage their own attention.
And that really brings us to the final, most powerful question of all. Are you a victim whose focus is being stolen? Or are you an agent who is choosing, even unconsciously, to give your attention away? Just shifting your mindset like that, that's the ultimate key. It puts the power and the responsibility right back in your hands.
So let's bring it all home. The path to becoming truly indistractable isn't about some magic app or productivity hack. It's about changing your entire relationship with discomfort and with your time. It's about managing those internal triggers, designing a life that actually reflects what you value, and setting up an environment that serves you. The real power isn't in a pill or an app. It's in realizing that your attention is, and always has been, yours to control.